Welcome, restoration professionals, to Restoration Minutes, your source for industry information and education. Be sure to like and rate us if you enjoy the content we provide.
All right, welcome into a new episode of Restoration Minutes. Today I've got David Grode with us from Bylt Restoration, but David also has his own software and tech company, and we're going to talk a little bit about, where the industry is at, where it's heading, embracing AI and other features that are out there. And welcome in, David. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Thanks. I started in construction for many, many years, owned several different kinds of businesses growing up out of high school. And then somehow restoration found me around 2014 or so.
Finds all of us.
Yeah. But I seem to fit it well with my tech background, construction background, owning businesses. I kind of had a little bit of a mix of everything you needed to be a really good estimator, really good project manager. So I did well at those things, quickly became general manager at a couple companies, grew those companies quick, and eventually somebody backed me to start my own. So that's where I'm at today. But over the last 8 years as well, I've been building a software for retail construction as well. And over the last year and a half, I've started a newsletter and podcast for one for restoration, one for construction, and one for leadership, trying to help people learn about tech and AI and how to kind of keep up with everything and slowly and kind of get everything into your business, automate your business.
What are the names of those podcasts so you can kind of give them a plug here?
So one is Restoration AI. It's actually got AI in the middle of it. And that's on LinkedIn. One's Contractor AI, and then the last one is Leadership AI.
Okay.
So right now they're all newsletters. The main podcast I'm doing right now is just with Michelle Blevins with CNR.
Okay.
So it comes out through a magazine and on LinkedIn and Facebook. So that's the Restoration AI one.
Yeah, I'd like to listen to some of those, and especially your leadership thing. I used to teach courses and on leadership. I'm definitely big about that. And, the leadership thing, I know we're here to talk about AI, but it's like one of the things that our industry lacks is leadership development, and people. And,
Yeah.
the last two companies I've been at, one thing I try to always get my guys to do is like always be teaching and training your replacement. There's too many people that are in management or leadership positions that are scared to let people step up. And I'm like, how are you ever going to grow and step up if you don't get the person underneath you to be able to fulfill at least some of your job duties or all of your job duties? Because then you're too valuable in that spot, So,
Yeah.
well, what do you see, David? I know me and you have had some side conversations over the last few weeks. What is that you're seeing that is the big thing that we cannot avoid in this industry, which is AI, and what do you see that kind of going for?
So there's three kind of steps of getting it in your business. So there's just utilization. So a lot of people have already passed that step where they have their employees utilizing AI or utilizing a language model of some sort. Then you get into automation, where you're actually using agents or you're connecting things with automation tools and trying to connect all your softwares together. But then everything from that's going to eventually move to actual autonomy, to where you actually have agents doing tasks instead of just things connecting. So it moves past that. One of the interesting things I read the other day was we're so used to software and tools that just store things like databases, and then we can get some analytics out of those things like BI tools, business intelligence. And that's kind of the way the world's run up until now. But now we have these tools where that actually feed the information to us and analyze it way, way deeper than we ever had the possibility in the past. So what that does is it's kind of trying to think of the way to explain it. It's kind of every employee's becoming leveled up without us spending a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
What used to be a junior PM might be a senior PM much quicker just with these tools. Um, I don't, in our industry, I don't see a lot of replacement, just because you still need the human touch in most of restoration. But I do see a leveling up of the industry as a whole as long as everybody embraces what's happening. But it is really hard to keep up with too. So
Yeah, because
there's,
it's like every week there's a new something out there, and I know you kind of turned
yeah.
me on to Google's new their labs notebook, the large language thing, and that's been pretty cool for me to kind of dive into. But it doesn't have like an open AI yet or anything like that for you to kind of incorporate something like that into your business. Do you foresee that coming? Like where we can start putting in like our training manuals. I know I listened to one of your podcasts, on how we can hopefully it's built on to help you learn the way that you want to learn. That's the whole design of it. Do you
Yeah.
foresee that there eventually being them or someone's going to emulate that format to where you can kind of put your training manual in there, and then your guys, if they have a question in the field, they'll be able to ask it, and jump right to it. Is that something you foresee happening?
I think it's already there. With Notebook LM, you can do that now. Um, so,
Right, but
so
I'm talking about like where you can incorporate it into an existing software. So let's just say Xactimate, for example,
yeah.
or our software here, Helix Co, for us to be able to go in and take all of our training and onboarding stuff and put it into Notebook, and then people can access that, especially
Mhm.
if they're in the field. I mean, is it something that I know, like maybe can you share a link out of it like you can with ChatGPT or things like that so people
You
can
can.
access
You
that?
can. And you can share that notebook with anybody and make them viewers or editors. Like if you don't want them to edit the sources and things, you can
Okay.
just viewer so
I
they
haven't
can
gotten
come.
that far into it yet, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, you can. So that's what I say. It's kind of already there. And then the cool thing is between whatever you use for storage, like SharePoint or Google, doesn't matter, cloud storage, between that cloud storage and then Notebook, you really have your brain, right? So whether it's your company brain or your leadership brain, you can kind of make different brains. I even saw somebody the other day almost replace their whole Notion just in Notebook LM. Like they
Oh,
don't
wow.
even use Notion anymore because Notebook LM, they're able to kind of configure it in a way that's doing all the same things. So there's going to be a lot of tool replacement, and and it could very quickly, like, something come out tomorrow that completely replaces Notebook LM. You just don't know what's going to
Yeah,
happen.
that's the thing that's crazy about it right now is like every time I think I've got one of them, like, okay, I've got this one set up. I like how it works. That oh, this is cool over here. It's like then I'm having to. So what I've done now is at least I've got folders that I've created in my own, where I have all my own resources, my own information that I've created over the years, and and then website links to things, and so that way I can easily move them from one to something else if something's better, because
Yeah.
ChatGPT was that for a while. So I've kind of like built projects and, chat bots and things like that inside of it to kind of help educate people and to give responses to certain things, especially like consultants and things like that that
So
push back on jobs. And now I'm like trying to I've moved a lot of that into the notebook side of things. And then it's like 6 weeks from now, there'll be something cooler, So,
yes. And to your points, when we're talking about SOPs, right? You just said something that you made something that people can interact with, right? That's a real time decision engine. That's not necessarily just an SOP because SOPs used to be I have a manual, which I have a stack of them over on a desk over here. You have a manual in a binder of some sort, and people can look through that manual to find what they need. But now we actually have real time decision engines where people can interact instantly, get
yep.
the answers they need instantly to make decisions real time in the field, which, I mean, that's a absolute game changer, but it's figuring out how to get that process into your company, how to get your field techs to understand that that's what it is and that
Yep.
the world's changing. Like you don't have to dig through manuals or go through these really long training courses anymore. You can learn real time in the field with the tool that's in your hand, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a
It's been pretty amazing, even for me, I've been doing large loss and catastrophic work, and fighting adjusters and consultants and working with consultants and adjusters and hygienists for about 19 years now. And so I've dumped a lot of the knowledge. I've got a book that I've written, haven't published it yet, but I've dumped a lot of that information in there and the resources from it. And it was kind of shocking that I could put in a simple thing like, I have a consultant not wanting to pay for water on a job site. Please help. Kind of like I don't know the
Mhm.
answer. And it starts spitting out OSHA references and all that kind of stuff to validate, your bill. And now I've gotten it created to where if you upload a consultant's document that, their rebuttal back to you and, things that they want more backup on, it will spit out and respond to each one of those rebuttals, for you. And
Yeah.
what I've done is I've read a book. Oh my God, Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. I'm not sure if you've ever
No,
read
Chris
that book
Voss.
on
Not that,
negotiation.
but I've heard of Chris Voss. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he is amazing. And so I've gotten it to where if you want, it'll create responses based off of his book too, in that same
Wow.
language of negotiation. And so it's like, I'm blown away every day that, and I love talking to guys like you so I can learn to do more because I'm not a programmer, but I am a little bit of a techie nerd, It's self-taught
So,
my
I
entire
mean,
life.
but in this new world, you don't need to be a programmer anymore. So
No, you don't.
tech
You can
guys
go.
like you and I, that we can actually create things and code can be created for us now.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things that's going to change over the next year to 3 is the
This episode is brought to you in part by Bylt Restoration. Call them at 410-770-2900 and at byltrestore.com.
the way things are being coded. Again, you're not going to completely get rid of people, but what used to be a junior developer might very quickly become a senior developer with the tools that we have.
Oh yeah.
And, you'll be able to, and then somebody like me that's building a piece of software, the price to build is already dropped substantially. And I mean, it's just going to become quicker and faster.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing here is like we had a client that is not really in the restoration world that uses our software. They do more like oil spills and things like that, but they love the validations and all that kind of stuff that our software brings. They're using our software to kind of sell their service to the oil and gas industry. It's like no longer is someone going to be able to say that they had 12 guys on this job site for 5 hours
Yeah.
and to shoot a bill to you. They're going to have to clock in and clock out with geolocation and stuff. So they came to us with 12 things that they needed done to really kind of make it work for their industry. And they already subscribed, for one of their corporate office, but now they're ready to put it to all their offices locations. And we were able to get 11 of the 12 things done in 3 days now. Previously that would have taken months.
Yeah.
Because our guys can go in and say, hey, this is our software. What do we need to write in the code? But because we're SOC 2 compliant and all that, we actually do have a little bit of extra security kind of stuff
Yeah.
that we have to build into
Yeah. It's
everything. So
not as simple for
yeah,
sure. And you guys have a lot of, so what makes you guys a little more special than like a regular SaaS software that I've seen is you guys have some really proprietary things and data, which is really valuable nowadays. Like if you don't have those things, your SaaS is not worth much, right?
yeah,
Like you have to have things that are extremely proprietary to your software to survive what's coming.
yeah.
And I do see that in yours more than anything else in the industry for
Well, I
sure.
appreciate that.
But another cool thing kind of coming up this one's harder to explain to people, but it's coming whether they understand it or not. And they don't have to fully understand it, but quantum it's coming really fast. So 3 years ago when I remember first really hearing about quantum and that it is becoming a thing, I remember somebody saying, don't worry about quantum. That's 10 or 20 years out. It's just not going to happen for a long time. Well, since AI has come to light. Now there's working selling quantum computers now, and I don't think quantum's going to replace classical computers in a longer time frame, but they are already starting to make hybrid models that work. So NVIDIA just put out a connector that basically sits between a data center and a quantum computer. I'm sure they didn't build that just for nothing.
Oh yeah.
It's a pretty big piece of machinery that connects the two. And I would assume over the next few years, that connection is going to happen. And then very complex problems get solved much, much quicker. A visual of this in your mind could be, let's just take a Matterport scan of my building. I've got, I think, 6,000 square feet here. So we scan the building, and then you plug that into an AI and say, give me a risk assessment. Right now, if I do that and I say, give me a risk assessment, it'll give me a pretty good risk assessment, kind of like maybe an adjuster looking at the building. You plug something like quantum into it, it might tell you where the actual failures are going to happen, exactly when happen over the next 10 years and what you need to fix to keep those.
Yeah, I remember reading when they were first trying to build the first one. I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've read a bunch about some of these different computers, but it's like they had something like they had to like keep it like super cold or something like that in the core of the
chip.
chip.
But they're fixing that. So that's one of the big hurdles, right? So I don't even want to say, there's like between 5 or 10 hurdles they have to get over to really make it replace classical computing, right? But they already have it working to a certain extent. Most of them have to stay pretty cold still, but there's been a few companies that have figured out how to do room temperature with it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's just, and if you're following it, I mean, I'd say in a week, there's probably like 1 or 2 breakthroughs every single week that I'm looking, which is crazy for something like quantum. You would think maybe once a year, once every couple years. And I think that's why it used to be like this is 10 or 20 years out. But the breakthroughs are happening so fast now because they're dumping trillions of dollars into it. And with AI, they can figure things out much quicker, that everything's moving faster. So like, even on the trajectory we're on, where you and I are leveling up so quick, everybody's leveling up so quick with AI, it's only going to start to ramp up even faster, which is,
it's kind of crazy, go all the way back, kind of like I'm an evolve or die kind of guy, that I've done that in my own businesses, my own philosophy.
Me too.
In the industry, so yeah, it's interesting, that you bring that up, because it's like when you look at the trajectory of our evolution and just say tech in general, if you go all the way back to horse and buggy, it's like that flip time used to be like 40 years, 50 years, now then it was 20 years and 10. Now it's like, it's days and weeks on certain things. It's nuts.
It is,
well,
even me just talking to you about some of the time saving things we've done with AI, like you're talking about tasks that could take you weeks with other people helping you, that now you can do in like 10 minutes, by yourself.
I remember the first time, it's been, I guess, about 2.5 years ago. We had a guy, the last company I was with, that went and picked up a boat, we were going to put at our own location, that we use for entertainment. And he drug it all the way down from Georgia to Florida at my office and got beat to crap because he didn't strap it down. And so the owner of the company was like, man, we need to create a checklist, that we can put on everybody's phone, for when, a checklist, a safety checklist for when they pull trailers. And I'm like, okay, this is a perfect thing for me to use ChatGPT for. And, it spit it out in seconds, and I shot it back to him. He's like, man, did you already have this sitting on the go and ready or what? Because, maybe like a superstar, because what a lot of people using Chat GPT. And I was like, no, honestly, I kind of cheated. He's like, well, you got one thing missing. And I'm like, okay, well, if it did 99% of the project for me that quick and I only missed one thing, that's pretty freaking great tool. But the cool thing is that the more you use, these types of things, the more they learn, and then it's going to get better each time. And you got the more people in the world that are contributing to these large language models, and feeding it information and ideas. You know, the only thing that we really have to worry about, it's learning, it's getting more information, but the hallucinations, and that's what I like about the notebook thing, is there, you know, because it's only going to pull from your information. There's no hallucinations there.
It can
And
still hallucinate.
we might want to explain a little bit what hallucinations are in AI. Is it basically it makes stuff up,
Yes.
or takes
Yes.
false information that someone else put out there.
And it's trying to give you the answer that it thinks you want, kind of, instead of the answer that's real and true. Back to timeline of technology. This is something I found a while ago. I'll share it with you.
Okay.
Here, I'll share my screen. So this is kind of a timeline. Looks like Our World and Data.org made this. Basically, it's a timeline of history, right, of technology. So you go 3.4 million years ago, first tool used. You go to 1 million years ago, first use fire, and you get beds, 200,000 years, which some of this is true. Some of it's debunked a little bit. Bow and arrow, 60,000 years. Homo sapiens origin, 300,000 years. Anyway, you get up here, you get the agricultural revolution, then some writing, you get the wheel, and then you see paper, gunpowder, glasses, printing press, microscope. Then you start to see like the 1800s, right? Where steam locomotives, all of that, industrial revolution really starts to take off. And then it really starts to kind of go up. Then you get the telephone, communication starts to pick up, right? You get electric, the automobiles, planes. First computers are here. So they were pretty big back then. If the World War computers were the size of my building almost, I think. And you get
do a simple computation,
Then you get smartphones in 2000. It really kind of takes off from there. And then you get first AI systems, which really, if you look at like where the government had these things, you can put everything 10 years ahead of where they're on this chart. And so then you get human level intelligence probably around 2050, but the way everything's moving now, who knows when something that level. And then it kind of just, I feel like we're even on a steeper incline.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like we're going a steeper one, especially with, to kind of get away from computers, but I think AI is what's helping them. We actually have, we talked for years about, fusion power, and it's looking like it's going to be a reality in a few years. I mean,
it is.
It is amazing how fast. I think the last one was 30-second runtime or something pretty close to that, which is
GE's really leading that charge. And yeah, you're right. It's no different than quantum, to where they were like, oh yeah, I mean, that's 10 or 20 years out. But you can notice ever since AI really came out, everybody's kind of integrating those things in. And then
it's like,
and then the government's using things that obviously they're not going to tell us about for 5 or 10 years, just like the internet, just like most of the technology that we've had.
I did did an article in high school on the SR-71 because it had just been made public in like 1989, 88, 89 airplane, but it had been around since the late 60s. Technology, no one just knew about it,
Yep. And it's crazy. So like I know somebody down in Atlanta too. They did a lot of work with IBM and stuff. They're like, we've been using AI tools since probably like late 90s, I think is what he said. So like they've had some sort of tools like that for a long time, but they were always used inside, not made public, right? Internally to build things and make things better. Now it's just like this public use case thing. But again, you go back to something like quantum or fusion, you just don't know exactly how far along they are, because it's not like they want to share that with the rest of the world usually until they're even further along.
Yeah, because if they share too much too fast, then they won't be able to profit off of it, honestly. And that there's got to be some profit to pay back all the money that they dumped in the research.
And then there's defense and offense and those kind of things too, right? Where they want to secure certain things and make sure that they're leading the charge. But I mean, with all that said, I mean, still goes back to our businesses and what we're trying to do, just trying to keep up with it each week. And that's why we built the podcast. There's no money coming in for that thing. I mean, it's literally just us trying to help people within the industry stay up on top of their
Yeah,
ability.
and that's kind of what I try to do here, educate. I share a lot of information on some of my podcasts, like terms and conditions and contract, language and things like that, that other people that do what I do on the consulting side charge money for.
Yeah.
Me, I'm like, that's not what I'm here to make money off of. I'm here to try to make us all better contractors. I'll make
Yeah.
money off of other things,
Yeah.
I'm going to try to share as much as I can and educate because, as an industry as a whole, if you have a bad player out there, it's not always because it's a bad guy. Sometimes it's because they don't know any better, on how to do things. Same thing with
Lack of
our day-to-day
knowledge.
restoration. You know, you get some guy who's just now getting into the industry. He's got great intentions. He just hadn't learned as much as, someone who's been doing it for 20 years. So, why let our industry take a black eye because this guy messed up on a job or didn't do something right or didn't document everything right? It'd be much better if we go ahead and start sharing and educating each other instead of trying to keep things secret, so that I stay above everybody else. Well, the thing is we're looked at in the world, at least, the people that paid the bills, which is the insurance, is almost used car salesmen right now. They do not trust us. And, the way that we fix that is to make us all better players, in my opinion, and not try to guard and protect, best practices, and so that's why I love the RIA as well, and, but sad thing about RIA is participation for my industry is only at 25%. I had Jeff
Yeah.
Moore on the podcast last week and I was shocked, that as an industry as a whole, less than 25% are members and help with RIA, which is out there doing some big things. Like right now, they're trying to get us recognized as an official trade, and that will change our industry. I mean, I always found it hard, and that's something that we might need to create,
Having
David,
these
is
codes and stuff is tough.
now we might need to
I do a
create
lot
a
of government
bot
work.
that goes out and searches all these bids out there, and I think someone probably has by now.
They have.
Digging through government bids. I've done government bids for going all the way back to 2012, and that's brutal time staking. And
Yeah.
your NICS codes in our industry don't really match what's
Yeah.
out there, so you have to bid
And
on
it's really
something.
weird. Every department uses a different NACE code, and every so Army uses something different from Navy, but they
Yep.
also all mold something different. They
Oh
all
yeah.
call water damage something different. So you just don't even know where to line everything up. And then there's most of the stuff is like subcontractor opportunities, but when there is a prime contract up, it's
Yep.
usually some company that's not even a restoration company that wins it, just
Oh yeah.
because they know somebody in Washington or a lobbyist or something. It's crazy.
And I got a
So
friend of
I have a
mine that
guy that
bought.
does nothing but government work for us, but we get a lot. But I mean, it's a tough world.
It's brutal because, like, you have to look under carpet cleaning, you have to look under janitorial. Sometimes you have to look under abatement. Abatement contractors have it in there. They have a NICS code, for
Yeah.
asbestos,
Yeah.
and things like that, and lead-based paint. But there's nothing for water damages and mold and flood. So if they can get that across the line, I know they're getting close. Then that would be helpful. Um, so what is something that you think is the most important thing in like your day-to-day restoration company that they can implement right now to kind of help improve their performance of their business?
Well, one thing I do want to say before everybody can start utilizing, right? Make sure every employee in your company is utilizing AI in one way, shape, or form, whether that's ChatGPT or Notebook LM or Gemini or whatever model you like. Have everybody in your company utilizing AI in one shape or form. But while you're doing that, you need to digitize your data. So you need to very clean data, very clean processes. If your processes are broken, AI isn't going to help fix them. It can if you talk to an LLM and figure out what processes are going to work, but you still have to implement those processes and make sure they're working, right? But then once you have that, then you start automating. Automating is a little more difficult, and I've already started it. I've seen a couple other companies starting it. Usually that's hiring a specific tech guy to automate for you. It's a very special kind of person.
And what kind
It
of
is
things do you think are important for people to start automating?
connecting their systems, building a company brain, right? But automating the data entry, cutting out the fluff throughout the day, double entry, triple entry, even just filling out of forms, like all that stuff can be automated through all those tough tasks. Even with your software, there's things that we can automate on our end because you guys do have an open API to plug in better notes, plug in better, have the dates and things fall in instead of just trying to manually enter everything after it's already happened, right?
Yeah.
Um, so there's a lot of ways to get there, but again, you have to have good processes to start with, and then you could do that. And then eventually, after you get past the automation stage, then you can go to like augmenting and getting AI agents, but that's much, much deeper. But that's still going to go back to that tech person you have, understanding how to connect all of those dots. So
Yeah.
that is one we are going to offer eventually, just because I've kind of been leading the charge with this, is helping people hire the right kind of guy to do that within their company.
Yeah.
Something I really want to help independent companies do, because they're not going to be the guys that understand the tech and understand how to connect everything. They understand how their company works and their SOPs, but they need to find somebody that's a good hire, that's a younger tech driven person that understands how AI is changing week by week, that can implement automations and agentic AI into their.
You had a whole list of things over there to talk about. I wasn't sure if we've hit on all of them yet. I wasn't sure if there's any other big ones you want to kind of hit on.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I can probably go on for a week if you let me.
Well, maybe what we'll do is set up another one like mid-December. Try to do one like once a month or something like that. Because
Yeah, that'd be good.
I think this is an important topic to try to keep guys up to speed on what's happening in the world, because it's changing daily. I mean, it's like I'll think I've got my head wrapped around it, then I bump into someone like you, and it's like, "Hey, have you tried this?" And I'm like, "No, I hadn't." And then by digging into that, I started finding like, oh my gosh, I can like just put in my website and it will create social media posts for me, and
Yeah,
that follow my style. We use a
yeah.
very clean marketing style, and it was like shocking. I think it's called Opal, I believe. That's through Google,
There's
Google
so
Ads,
many
and
now.
it's like I
Yeah,
have not even
this,
looked into those things until I talked to you.
yeah. The social media stuff is something everybody can do today. Like that's one of the easiest things to automate,
Yeah,
honestly. Like just plugging in your branding, plugging in a couple automations to all of your social media accounts, and AI can literally create your stuff,
your
and you're just
content.
sitting and improving. Yeah, it's really wild.
All right.
Again, that kind of still comes back to hiring somebody that can plug in all those automations for you, but you just need to know what you want
Yep.
with
All right, David. Well, I
content.
really appreciate your time, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
And tell everybody again about the name of your podcast that you have.
Restoration AI, and I'll send you a link that you can put on the post.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
This episode is brought to you by Helix Co., the most advanced time and material ecosystem for ROMs, time and material billing, job sharing, with digital records and much more. Check us out at www.helixco.io.